House Speaker Nancy Pelosi set to land in Taiwan this afternoon. In the last few minutes, China's foreign ministry has said Taiwan would face disastrous consequences of the U.S.'s actions if the trip goes ahead. Let's bring in our Bloomberg executive editor for China, Lujan. Thank you for joining us. I have a million questions. We were listening together, of course, to this presser by the highest-ranking foreign ministry spokesperson. I mean, it was fighting talks. There was it mentions about nuclear talks, unclear exactly what the consequences of the trip would be. What's your insight?
I think there is something to be said about Hua Chunying, the most senior spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, doing the briefing today. It is a daily briefing they have. She does not do this briefing normally. The last time she appeared was in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And so obviously when there is something sensitive that Beijing wants to discuss, wants to express to the world, she tends to be the person who does it. I think that casts today's briefing in a special light. That being said, the rhetoric is especially hot at the moment. That does not necessarily mean that there will be any intense action militarily. We do expect some response from Beijing with Speaker Pelosi's visit. Will it go into the territory of some sort of conflict? That seems unlikely at the moment. The specifics, I think we will get more of that as the day goes on.
John, I mean, when they talk, and I know this is a very difficult question, but when they talk about, resolute measures, if the Pelosi trips to Taiwan goes ahead, are they trying to deter the trip from going ahead? And can the U.S. afford, like at this point, I don't know what happens. The U.S. can't suddenly say, well, or Nancy Pelosi can't say, or I don't necessarily want to go. But do we know what these resolute measures could look like?
They are obviously trying to discourage the trip from happening. I think if Ms. Pelosi were to cancel the trip at this moment, I think most people would see that as a big win for Beijing. That is, I think, one reason why the trip is probably going to have to happen. In terms of what resolute response means, we've seen Chinese warplanes flying through Taiwan's air defense zone. There's been some talk that Chinese jets might try to escort Speaker Pelosi's plane as it approaches Taiwan. She's obviously flying on a military aircraft, so that would be extremely provocative. In the past, in the late 1990s, obviously China fired missiles which landed near some Taiwanese ports. That, again, has not happened in 25 years and would also be extremely provocative. Those are some of the things that are on the table. If it goes beyond that, I think we would be in very uncharted territory.
I mean, I feel like we're on the edge of chaos, John. Does Taiwan want this visit? We know that President Biden advised against it.
I think tensions are obviously high. I think the rhetoric is very strong at the moment on both sides. There is, however, I would say, motivation. There is motivation to keep the peace for both the United States, China, and for Taiwan, especially. I think the Taiwanese authorities, the Taiwanese government in Taipei, welcomes the visit by Speaker Pelosi. They welcome any expression of U.S. support for the government there. That being said, I think they are obviously not looking for any armed conflict. If this was to escalate further, the weight of the burden of those actions would fall squarely on Taiwan and its people. And so obviously there's motivation there to avoid any undue conflict. But I think it's hard to say at this moment.